How's it going, Colorado Springs? This is your friend Rodney Gillette, President and CEO of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce, and I am here at Northwestern Mutual, downtown Colorado Springs, with my friend and brother, Mr. Harrison Hunter, CFP. And we're going to talk about the CFP in a minute, brother.
Absolutely.
But we got to do something about these socks. I just want y'all to check out the sock game. I'm about that Colorado sock game, but Coach. What is this? This is you?
That is me. I'm not that like into that, but the socks work.
Yeah. I had some Obama socks on the other day, but those socks are doing it. So tell me, why Northwestern Mutual? Why are you here at this particular establishment working on your craft?
Probably above all else, this journey with Northwestern Mutual started because I knew I was looking for a career of significance. And after playing college football, never working, I didn't really have a whole lot of experience to bring to the table when I was looking at those careers. And Northwestern Mutual is one of those organizations that was willing to give me a shot, assuming that I was willing to live up to what was expected. And that's how I started here. I didn't know the company before I got here, but the reason why I stayed was because shortly after being here, I realized that this is genuinely a company, as much as companies will tell you, they always do the right thing. But in my short time after starting, I started recognizing exactly they will go over and above to do what's right by their clients. And it felt a lot better aligning myself with a company that I never had to apologize for, rather than just trying to find a quick fix that maybe looked successful but wasn't sustainable.
Right on. Now, you are very intelligent, brother. You have a MBA from UCCS, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, UCCS.
UCCS.
Hashtag UCCS.
Go Mountain Lions.
All right. You got it. It's live. It's real. So, with your vast knowledge, why choose this as a profession? Why finance?
Probably the biggest reason why I chose finance as my profession, it goes back to originally what I was talking about. When I was looking for a career, I was looking for a career of significance. And, being an econ major and getting my MBA, so Master's in Business Administration, I learned a lot more and more about the finance world. The more I learned about it, the more I realized how important it was to just about everybody. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started working here and really understanding personal finance that the light bulb went off. Right. In terms of, this is information that everybody deserves to know, and it's probably my biggest passion and pet peeve behind what I do, is everybody deserves to have this information, but very few people, number one, don't learn it in school.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Yep.
And when we talk about minority markets, a lot of times first generational wealth, things like that, right. Many of us never grew up having financial advisors or financial professionals in our lives. And that just kind of kept on opening my eyes to not only the opportunity, but the need.
One of the books I read that made it really profound for me, and I read it in the last 5 years, was Rich. And like nobody had taught me all the basics in that book. Yep. And that is something that I think plagues a lot of our people, is that financial intelligence. So I do appreciate you working in this field to try to bridge that gap. Now, speaking of being a master of your profession, you have a CFP after your name.
Yes.
And one of the things that I noticed out here in the community, there's a lot of people that are claiming to be financial analysts or financial experts or financial planners, and they do not have credentials. They're just self-nominated
experts.
Experts, right. So, I have 16 certifications in my profession.
Yep.
And you have quite an important one, the CFP. Like, how does that distinguish you from people who do not have their certification?
Yeah. Well, and obviously this is, because Rodney, you understand it probably better than most, because you understand what you had to go through to get those certifications.
Correct.
And you also understand that after you get those certifications, a lot of the knowledge that you're talking about with people are not just things that you've heard,
correct,
but things that you truly know and understand to be true.
Yep.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest cores behind what that did for me, was it gave me confidence. To know that what I'm telling people, it is true, and these are the facts around it, and here's how it works, versus me just parroting something that a company told me to say, or somebody that's maybe a little bit older than me told me to say, but in the back of your mind, not knowing if there's any truth to what you're actually telling other people to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then so when we talk about what the CFP means in my industry, and again, it's a certified financial planner. And at the end of the day, what that means is that you have a high level of competence when it comes to comprehensive planning. Because a lot of advisors tend to live on one side or the other when it comes to financial planning. Either they want to focus on the offense and just managing assets, which again, many of them I'm sure are great at what they do, but they may not understand the bigger picture of how the decisions you make over here impact all the other decisions over here, right? Because again, they're in their wheelhouse, that is their silo. And then the other planners only want to focus on the defensive side, which is when we're talking about insurance planning, which I like to say sometimes people act like if they only have a hammer in the tool belt, everything starts looking like a nail. And sometimes that's not always the solution to every problem. So by having this CFP, what it does is give me a good overview on people's entire financial picture, and it allows me to put me in the position to always making sure I'm helping making recommendations that are in my client's best interest, not just based off of anything that I can sell or place, or based off of what they heard in the news that week, and so we're just going to go with whatever they say.
Sure.
It's more of backed by, facts and figures, and understanding of how does your actual financial world work. And with that also comes a fiduciary standard.
What's fiduciary? What does that mean?
That's a very good question. And it's a word that a lot of people, as you get into finance or working around finance, it's a word that's thrown around a lot. And all that means is that a fiduciary standard, or if you're working with a fiduciary, it means that they have a legal obligation to make recommendations or operate in your best interests. Which you might be surprised, but your best interests may not always be the same as the advisor's best interests when it comes to a product or service.
So advisors that are non-fiduciary, their company's needs come before the client's needs.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then again, not to disparage or downplay anybody else, because again, I think it comes down to who's the person that is actually making those recommendations and things like that. But the fiduciary standards is just a higher obligation to ensure that you're always acting in your client's best interest. Because again, there's going to be people at other firms that will hold themselves to that standard because they believe in doing the right thing. But you also have to understand that there's nothing that is obligating them to actually act in that manner.
Copy. Now, when you were describing things a minute ago, you were using the terms offense and defense, kind of
Yes.
like sports talk.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
I've heard you're a coach. Tell me about your community service life. So what is this other side of you, Coach Hunter? Tell me about that.
Honestly, I think my community side is probably one of the biggest drivers to who I am. Yes, my job title is a certified financial planner. Yes, I'm technically what we call a growth and development director in my organization, but that's not who I am. Again, this community has really formed me, myself, and I think that's one of my biggest passions around being involved in it. So when you talk about what I do in the community, the biggest thing that is a big part of my life is coaching high school football down at Fountain Fort Carson, which we are 1-0 right now. So.
Right on.
Good job. That's what I say. I'm glad I can see it now, right? Because you never know where the season goes, but right now we're undefeated.
Yeah,
so.
undefeated. Champions. Trojans.
So with that, again, the reason why I never wanted to coach. I had zero desire to coach. But it was one of my college coaches that got the head coaching job at my old high school and asked me to help. Partly because he was having trouble finding qualified coaches that knew what they were doing and actually wanted to help. And I didn't think it was right for him or any of these kids to not have adequate coaches on the staff. So that was the whole reason why I did it. But it's crazy how once you get involved in something, especially when you start teaching somebody else something, you realize how much you actually have to offer or how much you know about a certain subject. And it wasn't until I was in those positions and helping these kids understand and seeing those light bulbs go off in them, that it really started to fuel my fire.
Gotcha.
Right? And even with that, when we're talking about coaching, teaching, doing those things, I learned also, coaches have had the biggest impact on my life, and it had nothing to do with football.
Gotcha.
And I'd be doing a disservice to a lot of their legacies if I didn't pass along those lessons that I learned, and also to make sure that these kids understand life is bigger than the sport that you're playing. Because I can't tell you how many of my teammates I've seen only have football or only have their sport, which invariably, I don't care what sport it is, it's going to come to an end someday.
Yep, all good things do.
And I know personally, as well as many of my teammates, it's very similar to like a lot of people I talk to in the military, but there's a little bit of identity crisis shift that happens when you no longer have this thing that was such a big part of you, is that you identify as. When that's gone, it's like, who am I now? What am I now? And so that's the biggest reason why I coach, is to make sure these kids understand you're more than a football player.
Gotcha.
There's more to life than just going to the NFL.
That's great. So let me ask you this. First of all, we appreciate Northwestern Mutual being a member of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce.
Yep.
Why be a member of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce? Why'd you guys make that choice?
Yeah, for our organization, number one, and obviously I was a big part of that.
Thank you.
But my organization saw it not so much as a question, but more of an obligation. Because especially when we talk about changing the demographic of wealth, changing the complexion of wealth, right? The only way you can do that is if you have more people in the industry that represent the communities that they serve. And if everybody in this organization looks a certain way or comes from the same background, again, guess who's usually receiving their service? Those same types of people.
Yeah.
And as our office has made it a mission, and my personal mission as I work into this growth and development director and developing new advisors, bringing in new advisors, my goal is to change the complexion of wealth and change the complexion of what a financial advisor is supposed to look like. And with that comes resources and connections, right? So when we bring in advisors that don't come from these traditional backgrounds, because they are women, people of color, one of the best things we can do is get them connected with the people that they need to know, right? And so we're a member of most of the chambers in the El Paso County region. And we look at the Black Chamber as it started getting going again is a no-brainer that this had to be a priority for our organization as well.
Gotcha.
And in addition to that, I think I've told you this, Rodney, but when we talk about the Black Chamber, I can see the light of, what it's becoming and where it's going. And it's meant to be a light that brings people together rather than keeping people separate.
Preach.
And so that's exactly why we have to be a part of that as well, because as we all know, a Black Chamber is important and Black businesses support other Black businesses, but we need everybody to come to those tables.
Yeah.
Again, you go to women's chambers, it's not only women in the room.
That's right.
Right? So it's important that we have all the stakeholders in our community rallying around organizations like the Black Chamber. And that's why we're a part of it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was awesome. That was so poetic. I'm glad we got all that on tape. It's on tape.
Because I wouldn't be able to repeat it. So.
It was perfect. Harrison, thank you so much for your time today, my brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. What can we as a community do to help you?
See, that's a good question.
Ain't it though?
Yeah.
I know it is.
So,
1 Million Cups asks it
all the time, right?
Yeah. If you haven't been there, you should check out 1 Million Cups. Shout out to 1 Million Cups. Love you guys.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So, as a community, one of the biggest things that I would say the community can do to support is it me directly or
You.
What is the question?
You.
Okay, me.
What can we do to support you?
probably the biggest thing the community could do to support me is, number one, if you haven't, embrace the process yourself. And understand that, like, when I talk about financial planning, it's not just for the people that are making $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Again, everybody deserves to have this conversation, and everybody deserves to understand what's possible.
A lot of folks don't have life insurance.
A lot of folks don't have life insurance.
That's a shame.
And when we talk about generational wealth,
Mm.
that's probably one of the number one ways to protect and pass along generational wealth is through life insurance. So the biggest thing that the community can do to support me is not necessarily even work with me, but get informed. Work with somebody. Take your finances somewhat seriously to actually start seeking that knowledge. And if you don't know where to start, I can give you plenty of places to start. Like Rodney talked about, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book. Great book. Will give you a lot of, if you did that, anything in that book, you would be foundationally better than 90% of what I would say in our country.
Yeah. If you want to keep a secret, you hide it in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one, probably the best book I've ever read when it comes to money and finances, is Psychology of Money.
Okay.
So again, start actually feeding yourself with knowledge so you have a better understanding of how the world works, how money works, and then decide if working with a financial advisor or financial planner is right for you. Because there are a lot of things that you can do on your own, but like I tell people all the time, especially when I'm working with, smart, intelligent, hardworking, ambitious, successful people, one way or another, you're going to get where you're going.
That's right.
But my goal is to help you get there as efficient as possible without all the roadblocks and headaches that you have to go through along the way.
How can people get in touch with you?
So you can contact me directly through my website, and if you guys were looking for me to give you a call, there's a form for you guys to fill out, harrisonhunter.nm.com. That's my personal website. My email is harrison.hunter@nm.com, and my desk line is 719-358-2344. Feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, go online, and you'll have more information in terms of what our process looks like, what do our services look like on my website, and then if you're still would like to have a conversation, feel free to fill out that form. I'd be happy to give you a call. And again, a lot of our consultations are 100% free. It doesn't cost you anything to have the conversation. We'll walk through the process so you have a clear picture of how we can help and if it makes sense. And at that point, it is 100% up to you if you want to keep going down that rabbit hole and continue to have those conversations and build all these pieces of the plan into your personal plan.
Outstanding. You're a CSLI alumni too, right?
Oh yeah, always represent the CSLI.
What year was that?
2020, the COVID party. Yes.
Okay, right on.
So-
2019, best class ever.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hashtag COS Black Chamber. Hashtag Why Black COS. Like, share, and comment on the posts. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.